The coffee had already gone cold by the time Sarah realized she was truly alone, not just in the quiet corner of that small cafe in Ohio, but in the way loneliness settles into the chest when hope quietly leaves without saying goodbye. The chair across from her remained empty, untouched, mocking her patience, while the clock above the counter ticked forward with cruel certainty. She sat perfectly still in her wheelchair, hands folded tightly in her lap, wondering how many minutes were enough before dignity told her to stop waiting. And maybe, just for a moment, you might wonder what you would do if you were in her place, dressed carefully for a first date, heart open, only to feel invisible in a room full of people. Sarah had almost cancelled that date. It took her nearly an hour to decide what to wear, not because she was vain, but because she wanted to feel normal again. Paralyzed from the waist down after a highway accident 3 years earlier, she had learned that confidence was something she now had to build deliberately, piece by piece, every single day. Online dating had been her therapist's suggestion, a gentle pushback toward life. The man she was meeting seemed kind, attentive, and unfazed by her wheelchair and their messages. Yet here she was, 35 minutes late into silence, realizing that words typed behind a screen could disappear just as easily as promises. The cafe buzzed softly around her, the low hum of conversations, cups clinking, life continuing without pause. A couple laughed near the window. A group of college students leaned over laptops. Sarah stared at the foam in her cup, fighting the familiar ache behind her eyes. She wondered if people saw her chair before they saw her face, if this was why he never came. The thought hurt more than she expected, reopening wounds she pretended had healed. If you were here, would you keep waiting, or would you leave before the world noticed your disappointment? She was just beginning to turn her wheelchair toward the exit when she noticed a man entering with a little girl, no older than 4, her tiny hand wrapped around his finger. The man looked tired in the way only single parents do, a quiet exhaustion layered beneath patience. His name was Michael, though Sarah didn't know it yet, and the little girl's name was Anna. They paused near the door, scanning the cafe for a place to sit. Anna's eyes, curious and unfiltered, landed on Sarah, and she stared with the open honesty only children have. Michael noticed too late to stop it. Anna pointed without malice, her face filled with concern rather than fear. She tugged gently at her father's sleeve, clearly asking something that made his expression soften and then tighten with thought. Michael crouched beside her, whispering something meant to guide her kindness rather than silence her curiosity. Sarah looked away instinctively, shame rising like heat in her chest, but then something unexpected happened. Michael approached her table slowly, respectfully, as if stepping into sacred ground. His body language carried hesitation, not pity, and when he spoke, it was with careful sincerity. He explained that his daughter had noticed her sitting alone and wondered if she was sad. He wasn't asking out of obligation, he was offering presence. Sarah hesitated, pride battling longing, but loneliness won. She nodded. They sat together, the three of them, an unplanned arrangement that felt strangely natural. Michael apologized quietly for intruding, explaining that he and Anna were just stopping by after daycare. Sarah shared, without details, that she had been waiting for someone who never arrived. No bitterness colored her words, only tired honesty. Michael listened the way people rarely do anymore, fully and without distraction. Anna climbed into the chair beside her father, swinging her legs and offering Sarah a cookie she had been holding onto like a treasure. Something shifted then, subtle but powerful. Sarah felt seen, not as a woman in a wheelchair, not as someone abandoned, but simply as a person worth sitting with. They talked about small things, about favorite books, about how Anna loved butterflies and Michael loved old vinyl records. Laughter came softly at first, then more freely. The pain of being stood up didn't disappear, but it loosened its grip, replaced by warmth she hadn't expected. Michael eventually shared his own story, not dramatically, but with the quiet honesty of someone who had learned resilience the hard way. His wife had passed away suddenly 2 years earlier, leaving him to raise Anna alone. Dating was rare for him, complicated, and often disappointing. He admitted that he came to cafes like this because they reminded him that life still happened in ordinary places. Sarah felt a strange comfort in that shared understanding of loss and adjustment. When it was time for Michael and Anna to leave, something inside Sarah tightened again, afraid of returning to silence. Michael sensed it. He didn't promise anything grand, didn't offer empty reassurance. He simply asked if she would like to meet again someday, maybe with no expectations, just coffee. Sarah agreed, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. That night, as Sarah wheeled herself into her apartment, she thought about how close she had been to leaving before Michael arrived. She thought about the date that never happened, and the one that unexpectedly did. Life hadn't suddenly become easier. Her legs were still paralyzed. Pain and uncertainty still waited for her every morning. But something had changed. Hope, fragile and cautious, had found its way back in. Weeks passed, and coffee turned into walks in the park, her wheelchair rolling beside Michael's steady steps, Anna always between them, filling the space with laughter. They learned each other slowly, carefully, honoring scars rather than pretending they weren't there. Sarah learned that being left behind once did not mean she would always be. Michael learned that love could look different than he remembered and still be just as real. If you've ever felt abandoned, unseen, or unchosen, this moment is for you. Sometimes the worst heartbreak clears space for something honest. Sometimes the person who shows up late changes everything simply by staying. Before this story ends, take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced a moment where kindness arrived when you least expected it? And if this story truly touched your heart, gently reminding you of the power of compassion and second chances, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing, so more stories like this can reach hearts that need them.